Okay guys, so I'm getting ready to change the oil on my Champion 5500 watt generator. I ran it for 14 hours straight the other day for the first time. I bought this generator about 3 years ago, right after we had that freeze here in Texas, and it took out the electricity for about 3 days for us. Some people it was even longer than that. I did have just an old 3500 watt generator that I got by with. It was just barely enough to run two 1500 watt electric little heaters and a couple lamps. So I decided I'm going to get for me, the perfect generator, and it ended up being this after I did a lot of research. However, I overlooked one major detail that I would not have bought this generator had I been aware of it, and I'll get to that here in just a minute. But first, why I went with a 5500 watt and why I went with Champion. After I did all the research, Champion is one of the largest generator manufacturers in the world. They make their own engines for their generators. They have a 3-year warranty, which I don't know of any other generator that has a longer warranty than that, so that tells me a lot about them. And their layout and their design is well thought out. Now, I'm not going to run this generator because there's plenty of videos showing these type of generators running, and this specific one even. It's nice and quiet, starts easy. It's actually a remote. You can start it push button, but it's also got a remote that once you've activated it, if the battery was hooked up, I would show you, it's got a little green light right here that flashes. It will stay in standby mode for up to 12 hours, so you can start and stop this generator. When you stop it, up to 12 hours later, you can hit it and it'll start back up. And that was real handy the other day when we had to run it. We lost power. We was without power for about 24 hours. This generator ran for 14 hours straight. So I'm getting ready to change the oil because they say that you only want to run them for about 5 hours and then change the oil. Well, I ran it for 14 hours. I'm sure it'll be just fine though. But it was nice to be able to, at night when we was ready to go to bed, just hit the button, the generator stops. In the morning when we got up, I was able to hit the button and it started right back up. I mean, very, very convenient. And I'll do a little walk around here in a minute and kind of show you the details of this generator. Well, now this is a gas only generator, but they make this same one in a dual fuel, which I highly recommend. That way you can run it on propane or gas. But let's go over the display right here. Now, the display only works when it's running. And I've already got gas drained out of this. I had it in storage, and then I realized I need to change the oil, so I drug it back out, and I thought I'd do a real quick video just so you can kind of get an idea about this particular generator. The one thing I really liked about a lot of these Champions is this IntelliGauge that they've got. Now, this generator's got a light down here that if you hit this button right here, whenever it's on, this LED light comes on and it illuminates the panel right here, so at night you can see, you know, what you're doing. This button here's the choke. I'm sorry, this button here is to link the remote. Now, when I got this out of the box, it was all linked up. I didn't even have to use this. But if you change the battery or you want to pair another remote, you can pair up to 2 remotes. You use this button to pair another remote to it. This is the choke button. This is the reset. If you overload it and it trips off, you hit this, you take a little bit of load off, and then you hit this button, and then it'll reset it. Of course, you got your low oil light, and then you got your eco mode. So you hit that button, it'll idle down, and then if it needs to idle up, it will, or you can take that off and it'll run at high idle all the time. It does have a pull start, which obviously when I bought this generator about 3 years ago, right after that freeze, it set in the box. I actually bought 2 generators. I bought the one that we're looking at. Here's the box for it, and I bought this one. This one was on sale, so I went ahead and bought it also. It's still brand new in the box. It's 3 years old, just like this one is. And when I pulled this one out of the box last week, dumped oil in it, dumped gas in it, it started right up. I had to pull start it because the battery was dead, because obviously sitting in the box for 3 years, I wasn't expecting the battery to still be charged up. The battery has taken a little bit of a charge, but it's weak. The battery needs to be replaced. So I'm going to do a mod to this generator, and I'll tell you what that is here in just a second also. But first, I just kind of want to tell you that this generator worked flawlessly. Just to kind of show you what this gauge here does. Kind of made a printout here. So it shows you the voltage. Make sure you're seeing this. It'll show the voltage, and the voltage while this thing was running, and it was loaded up about 50%, 50 to 60%. It was rock solid on 120 volts. Every now and then it would drop to 119, but 120 volts is what it always maintained. The frequency was a solid 60 hertz all the time. Whenever the refrigerator or the freezer or anything kicked on and off, it was a solid 60 hertz at all times. It's got a runtime that whenever it's running, it'll tell you how long that current session has been running, and it's got a total hour meter. So it'll always keep track of how many hours you've put on it. And of course, down at the bottom, you'll see these little lights right here. That's your load meter. So as you load it up, more and more of these lights come up until it gets all the way up to 100%. I wish it was just an amp readout or even a watts. I wish you could scroll through and put it either on amps or watts. That would have been a little nicer, but at least it's got this load meter so you can kind of tell at any given time how much load is on the generator. And like I say, this thing ran for 14 hours solid. We was running a refrigerator, a freezer, a box fan, my computer system, a 55-inch TV. What else? My computer system consists of a desktop PC, 2 monitors, a router, a PoE switch, and 2 outdoor security cameras, and some lamps. I think that might be it. And like I say, all that pretty much for 14 hours straight, and that was about 50% loaded. So, I mean, to me, this is pretty much a good-sized generator just to run the necessities, and you're not going to be burning gallons and gallons of fuel or tanks of propane. Which, by the way, after that 14 hours, I thought, you know, I better go dump some gas in this thing, because I don't know how much longer it's going to run. I dumped 2.5 gallons in it. It holds a little over 3 gallons, 3.6 or 3.1 gallons. I can't remember exactly. But I dumped 2.5 gallons in it after 14 hours of this running nonstop all day long. And so very fuel efficient. It is parallelable, which was one of the main reasons I bought it. You can connect 2 of these generators together and double the capacity. Or the output. So, you know, 5,500 watt, you'd have 11,000 watts total if you got another one of these and you parallel it together. Now, this is the problem. When I first looked at this generator, I thought that it had the 4 120 volt outlets, and I thought just by looking that this was a 240 volt outlet. Well, as you can see, it's only 120 also. So to me, paralleling another one together, that's still only 120 volts. You've doubled the amps, but it's still 120 volts. Well, I want 240, so I'm not going to buy another one of these generators to parallel it. I'm going to buy a different one if I'm going to parallel it. I'm going to buy 2 other different ones if I decide I will parallel them. Now it did come, so this generator's got a 12 volt outlet here, and it did come with this USB adapter. So if you needed to plug something in here, this is 8 amps, you know, plug something in here, you could actually run this, take you some little alligator clips, connect it to a car battery, and even charge a car battery up if you needed to. So let's do just a quick walk around on this thing before I get the oil changed. Like I said, it does have a light down here, so whenever it's running, if you push this button, this light will come on and display the panel. It's also got a fuel light here. So at night, if you're needing to add gas to it, you pop that up and it illuminates that so that you can dump gas into it without spilling it everywhere. It's got a telescoping handle, which is very nice whenever you're toting it around. Got 2 handles on each end, so you can move it around pretty easy. Here's the rear panel. All this, I think, is service panel. There's your spark plug. It is automatic choke, automatic throttle. So it is computer controlled. Whenever it goes to start, it'll automatically close the choke. Once it starts up, it opens the choke and it maintains the throttle wherever it needs to be. Here's your battery connection right here. Your battery is right here. I do need to change the battery. I made these little jumpers right here because since I knew this battery was bad, I actually made this jumper that plugs into this pigtail here, and I clamped that onto my truck battery. That way it had a battery to start up whenever I was hitting the remote on it. So if you don't have a good battery, obviously you're going to be pull starting it, and it pull starts just as easy as you can imagine. So everything's nice and open here, well thought out. To drain the fuel, you crack this screw right here. Fuel will drain out of this hose, which goes right down out of the generator. Got an oil change hose, so this is at the bottom of the oil sump. You take this clamp off right here, and this hose will come down, and your oil will drain out of this hose right here. And then it's just stored right here to, keep it out of the way. Very well thought out generator. I've marked up here 10W30. That's another thing I was wanting to talk about, is the manual, depending on your climate. 10W30 is the recommended oil, but it does say that you can put a couple different weights in it, depending on the temperature of the climate that it's operating in. I don't have any 10W30, but I do have synthetic 5W30, and it does call out for 5W30. You can use that all the way from minus 20 degrees to 120 degrees. So that's what I'm going to start running in this generator, is synthetic 5W30, and that should be just fine. Of course, you got your inverter right here. You can see some nice big capacitors down there. You got some windings right there. Let's see what else you might want to see. Of course, you got your muffler right there. Like I say, it is a very quiet generator. All these panels come off real easy. Kind of show you this is the gas setup. This is probably about 2 inches, in case you need to know that. It does have a little filter in here, so when you're dumping gas in, if you kind of help prevent you getting any big chunks of dirt or debris in it. Does not have a fuel gauge. That's the one thing that would be nice if it had a fuel gauge. But anyway, I'm going to change the oil on this. Does have a little place for the remote right there. Like I say, it is parallelable, but it's only going to be 120 volt, even when it's paralleled. And I don't know what else to say. This is a great generator. I love it. The only thing I do not like about it is that's not a 220 or 240 volt outlet. And most of these 5500 watts from Champion, they're all 120. Even the ones at Harbor Freight, the ones this size, 120. I guess you got to get up to about 6500 before you start getting into the 220, 240 volt outlet generators. But this is a solid generator for 14 hours. It idled smooth, it ran smooth, it was quiet. I don't see it having any problems for a while. So if you need a generator, I highly recommend the Champion, but just be aware, if you need 240, keep that in mind and pay attention to that. That was the one thing I should have paid a little bit more attention to. And I would, if I hadn't have already drained the gas and got it all pickled for long-term storage, I'd start it up and let you run it. But like I say, there's other videos showing these 5500 watts running nice and quiet. I think 61 dB is what it's rated at. 63 maybe, I think it's 63 dB is what it's rated at 25 feet. And I mean, It's nice and quiet. When we was in the house, you didn't even hear it outside. So anyway, I don't know what else to say. Very nice generator. And I'll show you, I'll kind of show you the oil change here in just a second once I kind of get set up for that. All right, guys, so to drain the oil is really easy, and I'll show you the quickest way that I found to get the oil out of the oil sump. And it's going to consist of using this suction evacuator. And I'll put a link to this in the description if you want to get one. Very, very handy for all kinds of stuff. Power steering fluid, brake fluid, you name it. You can suck it out of there and go about your day. So I'm going to take that clamp down, pull this hose off. Now, as long as this hose is higher than the sump, you're not going to get anything out of it. I've got this up on a stand, and you need to kind of angle the generator to let it gravity feed for it to be as quick as possible. But what I'm going to do now, of course, I've got the handle pushed in. Let me get the camera back just a little bit more so you kind of see what's about to happen here. Stick the nipple in there. I don't know if you can see, but I'm going to push it down in this cup. Try it one more time, but I think that was about it. So this was 14 hours of break-in running. And the oil that they sent with the generator was this right here. It's just 10W30 engine oil. Sure, it's probably just cheap stuff, conventional oil, probably not synthetic. Now I've already put my Valvoline 5W30 full synthetic in so that I can pour it in here. But yeah, we're ready to hook this back up and then fill the oil reservoir up. And I'm going to, as I'm doing this, I'm letting that used oil sit, and we will look at it here in a minute to see what 14 hours worth of running does to it in its break-in period. And it does come with this funnel for adding the oil. And again, I'm putting Valvoline 5W30 full synthetic in. They say when it's completely full, it should be about 2 or 3 threads from the top of the hole. And that's actually kind of spilling out right there, so I'd say that's probably pretty good. When you check the level, you don't screw this in. You just stick it in like that, pull it out, make sure that you're on the hatch marks. And that's pretty much it. Quick oil change, real handy. They've really thought it through as far as the hose, and you're good to go. And I forgot to tell you my plans for this generator as far as the mod that I want to do to it. Now, like I say, this generator was in storage for 3 years before I unboxed it and started it up, and of course the battery was dead from sitting that long. Now here's the pigtail going to the generator itself, and then here's the pigtail coming from the battery. And like I said, I made this little jumper set right here that I keep stored in here. It's got the same pigtail that connects onto this, and then I can just run these wires up to a car battery, and always have a battery to be able to use the starter instead of having to pull start it, which is nice if you're wanting to use the remote. Now, if you don't really care about the remote, then it really doesn't matter if the battery is dead or not. You can just pull start it and it starts right up on the first pull, no problem. But my plan for this, since a lot of these battery powered or battery start generators sit for so long before they get used, you know, unless you use them all the time, like in an RV setup, you know, if you're using it for a backup generator and it sits in the garage for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then you lose power and now you drag it out, and obviously it's not going to start because your battery is going to be dead. Now you can put this on a trickle charger, which is one option, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put little jumper studs sticking out right here on this panel, and any of my jump packs that I've got in my cars, the lithium little miniature jump packs that are popular now, I've got one in every car we own. I'm just going to be able to clamp off to those studs and then start the generator up off of that power pack. So that's the plan for this. So you know, hang around for that. I don't know when I'm going to get around to doing that, but that is something I'm planning on doing. That way, regardless if this battery is bad or not, you just hook a jump pack to it. Don't have to open anything up. You just hook a jump pack to it. So stay tuned for that in the future. Anyway, we're done for sure. You guys take care. We'll see you in the next one.